Right here and goes to the left hand.
Yep.
So ours is basically here. So
That's what I did. But
I want to see what it looks like though. My tongue would be out, that's for sure.
that's the part I'm talking about where there was a
Stacy.
here. That's
How good does it look with his left hand?
either the Walter leaves or Gilbert's used all the
By the time we're-
What line is it?
Oh,
Karen, are we good to get started?
Yes.
All right, we'll call the meeting. See, it looks like the first act should have actually been before the call to order, but that would be swearing of our new council member. So we welcome Mike Ackerman to the Piasta City Council.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe you've got a swearing in statement there to read.
Understand?
Please.
I, Michael Ackerman, do solemnly swear that I support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all the duties of City Council as now or hereafter required by law.
Thank you very much. All right, so we've got the call to order. Roll call, please. Karen?
Mike Ackerman,
Here.
Gary Hess, Doug Hughes,
Here.
Don Kraft,
Here.
Karen Lyons. Here.
Nice to have five. So on the agenda, before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, I will propose moving the administration section, number 7, up to be after the public hearings so that we can hear from Heidi and then let her get on her way. So if we're okay with that change, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, aye.
Gary,
Mike, aye.
All right, that carries with 5. All right, next up is the citizen comment section. And we did receive an email today from one of our citizens who had some input regarding the incentives related to the apartment building. I think he's referring here to College Suites. Interpret that the same way.
Yes, and I spoke to him on the phone also.
Okay, good. It seemed appropriate to read this in. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's, I'll just read this section that he has in quotes and he asked to be included in the record for tonight's meeting. So this is from Eric Osterman, 8141 Callbridge Street. He was not able to attend to another engagement, but he took the effort to actually write this down and send it. So I really appreciate that. So Eric's words, while I understand the enticement of property tax reductions to bring in new business, I feel that in this case, an apartment building should not be granted the same program privileges as a business which brings in either jobs or services to the community. At a time when the town has filed for an exception to raise residential property taxes under its maximum levy due to additional operating costs, it does not seem prudent that a for-profit operation providing no service or jobs to the overall community be granted 0 or reduced property taxes over a 10-year period as an incentive to continue plans to expand Piasta housing options, while residents see an increase to cover operating cost shortfalls or expansion needs. It, in my opinion, does not feel right, and I feel it can lead to a perception that residential homeowners are paying more because businesses are not contributing enough via property tax relief to the general city funds. If you still feel this is the right incentive when many homeowners are in difficult economic times, then please consider having the time length to 5 years or the amount relieved by 50%. End quote. So I don't think that needs a specific action, but we've got that citizen comment for us as we move forward. Next then, publicly, thank you, Mr. Osterman, for that input. Moving on to the consent agenda is up. We could take a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Doug, aye. John, aye.
Mike, aye.
Motion carries with 5. And then we get right into the public hearings. First up is a public hearing on the fiscal year 21 budget amendment. Included in the board docs is the notice of publication, including the detail. So we'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody who has any input for the council related to the fiscal year budget, fiscal year 21 budget. Staff, Heidi. Annie, I see we've got you on virtually. Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Karen, I.
John, I.
Mike, aye.
Public hearing closed with 5. Now up is the resolution approving the fiscal year 21 budget amendment.
I'll make a motion approving a resolution amending the current budget for fiscal year ending July 30th, 2021.
Second that. Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, I.
Mike, aye.
Motion carries with 5. All right, next up, we've got the public hearing on a proposed designation of the Piasta and multi-residential housing urban revitalization area.
Jim, can I ask that you forward that email to me so I can include that with the public hearing
I will
documentation?
do it right now.
Yep,
Thank you.
Whitney has it as well.
Done.
Thank you. So let's, as far as the Piasta multi-residential housing urban revitalization area, we will open the public hearing for comment.
Make a motion to close the public hearing. I'll second. Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, I.
Mike, aye.
And the public hearing is closed with 5. Next, we've got public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant and status of funds. So for this one, I've got some information here that I think needs to be read into record. So you're going to hear a lot of my voice, but let's do what we can. So regarding the Piasta 2020 CDBG COVID-19 grant number 20-OT-064, the status of funded activities is as follows. The city of Piasta applied for and was awarded a $27,500 CDBG grant to purchase a portable UV air and surface sanitizer system. The project is in the amount of $27,500, including all activities. The program will meet the urgent need HUD national objective by meeting the urgent need of the city that resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic, and the percent of the funds benefiting low to moderate income persons may not be determined. By design, no displacement. If displacement is necessary, the city will comply fully with the Uniform Relocation Act and Section 104D. The project was an exempt activity under the HUD/CDBG regulation. The city ordered the portable UV air and surface sanitizer system from,
Murphy.
I'm sorry, who?
It was Murphy was the name of the.
Okay, from Murphy. The city was required to expend the funds in July of 2020 in advance of the shipment due to the high demand of sanitization equipment. The unit hasn't been received, but is expected to ship the week of January 11th, 2021. So RDG Planning and Design prepared a housing study at the request of the Piasta City Council in spring of 2020. The findings identified the need for affordable housing in both the rental and owner-occupied markets. The CDHNA, or Community Development and Housing Needs Assessment, needs and actions. I'm sorry, this.
It looks like a duplicate.
Okay, so the CDHNA and needs actions to address the city's, help me with that, please, Karen. That's,
The CDNA needs and actions to address the city's needs have been discussed by the council and include the following. No, I think that, okay.
Okay. So the CDHMA needs and actions to address the city's needs have been discussed by the council and include the following. Development and housing needs for low and moderate income persons, specifically develop additional affordable rental housing in the city and develop additional affordable owner occupied housing in the city. Other community development and housing needs include the development of properties to house commercial businesses in the city and develop additional middle income housing in the city. Proposed possible actions to address community development and housing needs include work with NICC and private developers in the development of affordable housing for low income, work with private developers in the development of affordable housing for low to moderate income industrial park employees, work with private developers in the development of commercial space for businesses interested in relocating to or for entrepreneurs with affordable upper story housing. An update to the comprehensive plan is currently underway and will identify areas suitable for the development of affordable housing options. And research funding opportunities to assist in the development of affordable housing. So with that being read, I believe we open the public hearing for any input from our community on the CDBG grant.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, aye.
Gary, aye.
My guy.
Hearing closes with 5. And that concludes the public hearing section of this meeting. We will then, as discussed, jump to section 7. And we will start with the resolution approving a bond purchase agreement for the sale of general obligation urban renewal bonds, series 2021A. And for this, I believe we've got a guest speaker. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, Heidi, please lead us through this.
My name is Heidi Poole, with Northland Securities. Back here in person, we chatted just about a month ago before the holidays, being prepared for the financing for some various projects. You've got your large sewer project, north and south Cox Street, some storm and sewers, a utility project, and I'm missing one. There's some annexation as well. So looking at overall $5.17 million issuance. And so today we have a purchase agreement, a resolution to go into that purchase agreement, and that locks in the interest rate. We have today the proposal for the council. This has a term. If you want to take a look at all the summarized details are in this, in your packet here, is that listed? The summarized details of what that issuance looks like, and I'll take a little time to go through those details with you, and feel free to interject and let me know if you have questions. For your first year, you're going to have an interest-only payment. These bonds were structured kind of, when we looked at your growth, you're growing at over 5% a year. So we're looking at structuring it around your growth and your debt falling off. And we'll have a step up from 22 to 25, and then from 25 to 36 is level up. You're using a combination of TIF funds, debt service levy, and utility funds to pay for these 3 projects, largely using TIF dollars to pay for projects. It's not expected to have your debt service levy increase from where you are today with this bond issuance. And so that's how we did structure it, to not have any increases. So we had that step up from 22 to 25 and leveled it off. Again, it goes out to 36. there is what is called a call date in there, where to get the best bond market rates, these rates will be locked in until June 1 of 2028. And at that time, the city can call in and pay off early, or if rates were to decrease at that time, you could refinance the remaining of the bonds, but the rates are locked in until 2028. You can save up to prepay ahead if dollars are ahead, but bondholders cannot call it. It is at the city's discretion to call these bonds. With that, you have an interest rate, a true interest rate of 1.39% over that 16-year period. So phenomenal rates, phenomenal bond market rates. Other things that I will note is these bonds had a lot of interest in it. We had some estimates of where we thought we were going to be. When these rates were out, there was so much interest in these bonds, we were able to decrease the rate based off of the large interest. You had local interest, we have a local bank here in town, they had a large interest in these bonds as well. Looking at your finances, your balances, all the things that the city's doing with your finances played a part into getting this low interest rate. We also looked at, early on, we looked at getting a rating. Unfortunately, rating companies who don't have 3 years worth of audits won't give you a rating. So we did look at bond insurance. We have an extra fee on there, but the interest rate that you got because of the insurance that's added on there more than pays for itself when you look at the total principal and interest payments for the bonds. So this financing was set up extremely well. The last couple pages here shows some of the trends of where market rates have been. So you'll see that they're the lowest that they have been in 5 years. Reference page 5 looks like this. This red line here is 2020, and in the beginning of 2021 is just this black dash. This is a trend of 20-year bonds rated at a AA-. So seeing from 2017 to now, rates are lower than they have been on municipal bonds. So very good timing, and also a nod to the city and their finances to get these good rates. One other thing I just want to note, in case you get some questions down the road on some financing, page 3. This details out how much is funded for each of the projects, showing the sources of the funds and the uses of the funds. The city is currently borrowing $5,170,000 over on that right end. And then you see $164,538 of reoffering premium. That's additional funds that you receive that you won't have to pay back. If I go down to Exhibit B, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail. If you see this maturity, if you go towards about the middle, you see a yield column and a coupon column. You see that coupon column is higher than the yield. The yield is what the city is paying, is essentially the interest rate that you're paying. In the bond market right now, when the rates are this low, investors say, I want a 2%. So say to get that 2%, you have to pay a premium. So you end up paying less back in principal to get that coupon. So it's a little bit of a kind of a balancing act, but in 95% of bond deals in the market, you're seeing some sort of premium just because rates are so low. The interest, the overall interest rate that you're paying is that yield column that starts in 2023 at 0.25%. And then it increases the yield as the years go out. Each year has a different rate associated with it. the last 6 years from 30 to 36 are at a term, all the rate is combined into 1.45%. So if you have any questions on, what between that 2 and that yield, I wanted to let you know that there was some premium that the city receives in this financing. A little bit confusing. I know that it's not something to be confused by, but it's just when we see this low rate environment, investors are trying to find a way to have some higher yields in there, and they're willing to pay to get those. Questions, concerns?
I got a question on the call date. You said that after the 28th, we have to refinance again?
You do not have to refinance, you have the opportunity to at that time.
So if rates are lower, that's when we'd refinance, otherwise. Right. I got a question on the interest rate. So by the chart, it looks like on an average, the interest rate's around 3.5% to 4%. Is that about right?
This chart.
Yeah.
This is over a 20-year one, so that's the average.
Yeah.
Your bonds don't go out 20 years, so it is less than that. But this is just showing you overall an average of where they've been.
Yeah.
You can't have everything apples to apples, so it just is an average of one sort of bond in the market.
Right.
Hope you guys have a good, Heidi did a good job of painting this. This couldn't have gone better from our perspective. There's been rumblings, some cities have been getting offered premiums, so you just like, ooh, there was a lot of things you sort of had fingers crossed on. But yeah, when Heidi called this morning to let me know A, that they were getting a lot of interest, and B, that she already low rates. It was nice to just affirm the work we've been doing and confirm what we assumed and hoped to see a really favorable environment, and it just kind of provides a boost to what we know needs to be done. So this is a good day in the life of a city finance officer. It's as good of a day as borrowing $5 million can be. Aside from the debt.
So Heidi, we're going to borrow 5.17 million on the payments through 20. I'm trying to understand on Exhibit B, the 2036 row.
Yes.
So there's 2.89 million left at that point.
This next page here, page 4 will explain that in detail. So this is the combined debt service schedule that the city will pay back each year. And you see that folded box.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a term. You see the rates are the same. The payments will stay at around that 435, 440, but it's been termed at one rate. There was a large interest actually where your interest savings was, it says, hey, I want the last 6 of those to be combined at that one rate. And it made financial sense where you're seeing these low rates. That's kind of where those, a lot of that savings is that you have termed there.
Okay.
So you see that you don't have a large payment. This is large payment coming back. It's all just the last 6 years are all at one rate.
Got it. Thank you. So the next thing in front of the council is the resolution approving the bond purchase agreement as outlined here. What other questions or discussion should we have?
There's one thing I'll add, you will have one more meeting called the issuance resolution at your next meeting. What that does is that just legalizes everything, it's signing everything. No numbers will be changing at that point. everything be legalized, and then you'll close and have your funds, available on
February 9th.
February 9th. There it is, February 9th.
And there's cost to the issuance too, correct?
Yes, that's all been built into the financing and into that rate, that 1.39.
I'm respecting that we don't borrow $5 million every day, right?
Ever before.
Ever before.
This is the city's largest issuance, by far. In the last 10 years, you borrowed 700,000, 1.5 a few times, but this is definitely a very large issuance, for the city. We have a lot of growth and a lot of progress in that. But I think from a timing perspective, from an interest rate perspective, you're looking at locking in at a good time, a big dollar amount.
Yeah. And I'm excited just because it's backed up by such a full capital improvement plan. I mean, we've got huge projects lined up in front of us. Some of them are infrastructure, the non-sexy things that we got to do. But we've got an awful lot in there already, and our comprehensive planning is adding to it things that are very exciting for the city, improving quality of life, primarily. So this is a really exciting time. We're nervous, but it's exciting.
Yeah, and I hope the council should feel good about the fact, especially up and on for a while, that the position you put the city in over the past decade has allowed us to borrow $5 million without a direct and steep increase to the tax rate. So that's very unusual that we would be able to borrow that amount of dollars without just automatically having to roll out a large tax increase. So, well done, long before I got here.
You bet.
Yeah.
So we can talk about this as long as we need to. The next action would be a motion to approve.
So I mean, the projects need to be done. Short of borrowing, how else do we pay for it? At a 1.39 interest rate. Can I get this on my home?
You know,
Just leave your card. Just leave your card.
mortgage rates are good right now, so all your pretty.
But I mean, seriously, I mean, with the 1.39, I mean,
Oh, it's on the chart, right? So stores below, so. Make a motion approving the bond purchase agreement, general application urban renewal bond.
I'll second.
Aye.
John, I.
Jerry, aye.
Mike, aye.
Motion carries with 5.
Thank you.
Heidi, very complicated.
Thank you.
for the way you explained that.
Hold on.
Anything comes up, reach out to me. Maybe-
We very much appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a copy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, continuing under section 7, next up is the resolution approving the library lease agreement. Lease agreement is in the board docs, and our action would be to approve resolution to approve. Or motion to approve, I should say.
Make a motion to approve the library lease agreement.
Second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, aye.
Mike, aye.
Motion carries with 5. Next up is planning and zoning vacancy. So this is a discussion. We do not have this flagged as an action item, but we can entertain some discussion now that Mr. Ackerman has been elected to council. That creates a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission that we will need to fill.
Does that person need to be in city limits?
So that's been talked about a little bit.
Currently, the ordinance does require it. If there is a precedent, there are several communities that have somebody in the county particularly to advise on all of the, I mean, P and Z has to deal with, they see a lot of action items that are outside the city limits but are within 2 miles. So that's the rationale behind that, is that something the county could provide more knowledge because it's their jurisdiction. But our ordinance would have to change, the Planning and Zoning Commission ordinance would have to be amended if that's the direction the council wants to go.
I just had a person contact me about it, Don Bergfeld. He was interested in it, but I said, I think you gotta be in city limits.
He's within 2 miles, isn't it? I think he'd be good. I know him, so.
Yeah, I think he'd be good at it too.
I can just see a value of having somebody in that 2 mile. I don't know this person, but I've thought, and as we look to grow, expand over the next 10 to 20 years, and I think having that contact and that relationship with those residents in that 2 mile bubble would only benefit us.
Is it Don Bergfeld?
So I guess this is, again, discussion, no motion needed here. If we want to have that door open, then it sounds like we would need to bring an amendment proposal for that particular ordinance that we would allow either residents or people who live within 2 miles of the current city limit.
Do we want to limit it to 2 miles?
I think that's the limit that we're under, so maybe we should put the limit there.
There's a precedent to follow.
Because that's what P and Z sees, right, is 2 miles.
Correct. What do you think, Mike, based on your?
No, I think I like it. Sitting on that, right, you'd get some of those requests and you have a pretty good idea of the city, but as those county requests do come in, you're like, okay, right, so I think it could, yeah, well, exactly, Whitney, and I think that could be another good voice for that, especially as you look to grow and potentially expand too, right, so, and I think there could be some definite other interest too. I mean, it sounds like that would be a great resource, but definitely would open up to some others to consider, right, so.
Yeah, I think I'd be open for adjust the ordinance.
Did you find anybody?
No. Thanks, Jay, but-
That's why I said
Yeah.
expand the search.
Yeah.
Have you
And
had
I think that's
with
good.
Don about it?
Yeah.
Okay, he's interested. When might we see a proposed amendment to that ordinance?
We could present that at the next meeting. So just like with all ordinance, it requires the 3 readings, but you have the option to waive the second and third. So you could determine, I don't anticipate this would be a hotly contested ordinance, as P&Z seats don't seem to be bitterly contested. But yeah, you could determine how the readings go. So it could be passed as quickly as the next meeting, or it could take as long as 6 weeks over the next 3 meetings.
And what's our or the requirement on the council to fill this open position?
There's not a requirement.
I don't believe there's a requirement.
No, I mean, gender balance is something that the state has required that you keep in mind. But you have a little flexibility because you currently with the 2 remaining, you're balanced, or the 4 remaining, you're balanced 2-2. So you have the option with this position.
Okay, and I think we can leave it at that. We would like to see that amended verbiage for the ordinance. And then once that's passed, we would then speak about the appointment. So we'll leave it vacant for now. All right. Any other discussion on P and Z? Thank you. That closes out section 7. We will now, as planned, go back to section 4 and look forward to the update from Stacy on the Piasta Community Center.
I guess one thing before anything that's listed here, as far as that EV machine, I've been in contact the last couple of days with shipping, and it sounds like we should get it on Thursday. So after months and months of waiting, it's close. So we should have it soon. As far as this stuff, baseball, softball registration starting today, actually it wasn't yesterday. And then working on day camp to start March 1st. A lot of question marks there regarding what I can do this summer. Can the kids go on field trips, that kind of stuff. So we'll work through that. Hopefully by March 1st, we'll have a better idea. And then our tournaments are back downstairs. So revenue's kind of, a little bit of revenue is coming in with the tournaments so far. The tournaments have been great. Still doing everything I can to separate the two as much as possible, tournaments from the rest of the members. I think the last 2 tournaments went better than some of the ones before Christmas. So we're learning, trying to do everything we can to keep everyone safe. So, you guys have any questions as far as?
See the memberships in 20 are up to 781 last year. So they weren't down from COVID, or how'd you figure that?
The same month last year. So January last year was before COVID.
That wasn't this
That number
month to
is
month.
probably the highest we've literally ever been.
We were planning an 800 party.
We were, well, I remember planning the 600 and 700 party ironically, but yeah, no, we were close, and then COVID hit in a couple months. So, so yeah, that's January 2020.
Can we look outside the box, I guess? Look at, what's family rates now, like 500?
600 for non-resident, 5 something for resident.
Can we do like a special in February, first time signups, get it at 350, 400 or something like that?
What we can do,
To
I mean,
try-
I think,
To try to encourage,
You're talking about the first time?
yeah.
Well, then I'm gonna play the devil's advocate and say, I've been a member for 10 years.
and that's my fear.
The same thing I do to the satellite people that call me and say that.
And so ironically, I will tell you that we have been getting a lot of people, a lot of calls from Signature. We've actually got a lot of new members that are from Signature that have told me our prices are dirt cheap, ironically. On the flip side, I would say the majority of people we don't have back are renewals yet, like the ones that aren't ready to come back from COVID.
I just think we need to keep looking at stuff instead of just saying that it's good enough. You know, we need to
See what you're saying.
encourage them.
Right, I see what you're saying. I just like, that'd be my argument if I'm a guy that's been here for 10 years.
Conversation, but you know what, AT&T, UScellular, Verizon, do it all the time.
I know when I switch.
Right. That's always Dish,
Yes.
DirecTV, it's always right. The new members.
Right.
It's the new customers, so.
And I did what you're saying on the down low, essentially. So when people asked for January, well, it was end of December, most of January, I did $25 memberships. We're trying to hit the college students, but then we opened it to everyone, and we got a boatload of them. And that was just us word of mouth selling them as questions came in, just to get their foot in the door. So I understand what you're saying. It's absolutely something we've done. My fear is what John said as far as advertising, pushing that out there was, am I then gonna have to make up that for my current members that are already reluctant about being?
I mean, I think the same way as Whitney, you know, Verizon does it, DirecTV does it. I'm sure other businesses do it. And yeah, you're gonna catch some flack, but at the same time,
Everybody loves a sale.
yeah.
Stacy, what did you do for the couple of months in the heart of the pandemic for, right, so you got a core membership, you got a year, basically we used it for 10 months this year.
Correct. So all ACH members, we held their payments. So ACH, people that were paying monthly did not get charged for those 2 months. Anyone who bought annual memberships, we are extending as requested. So I'm getting a lot of as requested now, because now is the time that memberships, expire. So we put that out there right when we opened again. Did everyone know about it? Probably not. We tried to get it out there. But that's, I mean, we're trying to make it right.
That's good.
Anything else for PCC? All right, Stacy, thank you very much. Next up then is police, Chief Comer.
You guys have my report in front of you, but I'll give you a summary of it. We did do GTSB, the step wave, December 18th through the 1st. Luckily for everybody, that is now pretty much done until Memorial. So we won't have any more of those until Memorial Day or around that time frame. The next thing we had, we bought some new equipment. We bought a new radar, handheld radar gun. That was funded with GTSB money. So we did receive that, and it's in service as of this point. We also bought some new tasers, 3 of them for our guys here, and they're not quite in service yet. We have to do the training on them yet, and then from there, they'll get in service probably next. Kind of give you guys an update of, it's the end of the year. You got the stats in front of you. But we had a total calls last year of 3,778. That's compared to 2019, we had 2,173. So we had 1,605 more calls. We had 47 arrests, compared to 19 was 24 arrests. So you ask why the higher numbers? Well, it's due to more officers on the street compared to other years. Officers are obviously more active while they're on duty. And a lot of it has to do with the software too that we got, that new SunGuard software, where it's easier, it's convenient to initiate the calls for service. That's more or less why the reason the calls are up. But I mean, a lot of it just comes to more officers on the streets and, staying at it.
Yeah, and I think Chief Comer is leaving out the fact that his leadership is a part of those numbers increasing. So, and Zach was hired in November, so really him coming online made 2020 the first year, and I guess I'm not sure when the last time, it's been a while since there were three officers beating the streets, so I think we've gotten nothing but great feedback from residents and businesses alike, so more good news for the direction.
It's been a good year, so.
Anything from the council? I know you make a point, Chief, of the visibility, having people on the street. I think that goes a long way. We appreciate your commitment to do that. And yeah, seconding Whitney's comments about your leadership of the police department and helping us prepare to make sure we keep up with the growth.
Thank you.
I should provide a quick commendation. I briefly lost one of my children last week. 2 officers responded very promptly.
We should laugh.
He was then discovered in the.
Well, we're glad
Happens more anything.
Didn't even know he's lost, right?
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Those are good innings.
Yes.
Yeah, amen.
So we like those.
You're a very embarrassed mother.
It happens.
Could not figure out what everybody was so upset about.
I just echo it. I mean, no new to this, but Chief, we're kind of tucked back in, and it's pretty cool to see you drive by, right? Just the image, just the visual of that is really cool. So thank you. Good.
And I'd like to say thanks for all the support you do for the citizens. I had some of the parades around our neighborhood and stuff, and jumped in and made everybody know what was going down the street.
All right, anything else for police? Thank you, Chief. Public Works, Dean?
So December has been a pretty idle month, fortunately and unfortunately, I guess. Anything other than the monthly report, the only one thing I do want to add and bring to your guys' attention that we did make the purchase and did receive the new end loader. So our Christmas present came a little bit early, which was nice.
And forgot to put it promptly to use, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Works well for snow at least.
At least I think so.
Yes, and then, so poor Dean hasn't even got to play with.
Oh, yeah, and I might have to give up my rights to the end loader too, what I've been hearing.
And Dean used his very best bargaining skills to make sure we got a heck of a deal on our trade-in. It was stressing me out, but we actually got a much better price for our end loader than we were anticipating, so it was good.
Great work. Thank you.
You should take it with you on.
Stressed a few of us on that.
Oh, this sounds like a challenge.
Yes. Quite the.
Did you walk out of the deal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind. I have my own heart.
And I went,
Just let go.
Yeah,
It's a game at that point.
I stood my ground. I was actually begging for a couple more days when the dealer called me and said, hey, we're ready to make that delivery. He said, wait a minute, I need help. And he said, I can, I'm having eye surgery. I said, well, I'm having rope. I said, so, but I said, bear with me. I said, I need a few more here. And I actually made that phone call right after I got off the phone with him, and yeah.
Nice. Good work.
It worked out.
Dean, all of the pressure reducer valves done in Thunder Valley?
We haven't one yet, and I have to, yet to make that call to Slavic. He decided to get rid of his original plumber and take on a new one. So I have to actually make that call to him to see where he's at with things. Spoke to his previous plumber. He's billed out to date, finished with him, doesn't really want to do that last pressure reducer. So therefore, I'll get a hold of Slavic and see where he's at with the new one and how things ended up there.
and that was delayed for COVID.
Yeah, due to COVID, it was delayed, that one particular resident. I was actually gonna make it a point to stop and see him in person. Kind of a challenge to speak to him on the phone. Yeah, he's just got a little bit different accent, so it's a little bit easier for me to speak to him in person and understanding. So.
Very well. I was just looking, no artificial urgency to it, just interested in the closure of knowing.
No, absolutely there is not, due to the fact that Horsfield actually made the looping through phase 3 and has that part done. So we can actually provide Thunder Ridge still with water that way instead of going through phase 2. So there really isn't an urgency anymore. I'm sure come spring and summer, due to the watering of lawns and stuff, there will be more of a need for that subdivision over there to be serviced off of our booster station.
And the loop's done now, right?
Pardon?
The loop's done.
Yes, it is. Yep. With the exception of the testing, they were having some difficulties getting their bacteria negative test back. Then it got cold, and I think we're just going to have to wait till spring for them to get so we can do a good flush over there and get a good bacteria sample over there. I don't feel comfortable right now at this point flushing. It'll ice the streets up pretty good. So unless we get some 40-degree weather, we're going to see those temperatures throughout for a few days and we can do a decent flush over there. I just hold off until spring on that. So.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Keep taking care of that arm.
Definitely.
All right, next up on the agenda under Public Works is a pay application number 4 for the wastewater treatment plant. This one does need a motion to approve.
Did you see this? Went through it, everything looks fair?
Yep, and I just spoke to them guys, actually, I think it was last Friday, Thursday or Friday. I called them just to see how things were going out there. And, obviously due to the holidays, December was pretty much a slow go, but the weather was cooperative with them, so they're still making progress.
It looks like this is a payment for $353,764.51.
I'll make a motion for contract created number 4.
I'll second. Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Mike, aye.
Motion carries with 5. Then we've got the public input session for the stormwater ordinance. This is a discussion item. And recognizing that we have a new stormwater ordinance, stormwater management ordinance. This isn't updating an existing one. Since it's new, the city's made an attempt anyway to make sure the public is aware, public and developers, aware of what's out there. We wanted to get this out to get as much feedback as we can before. So today is just a listening session with no action. So I will ask if there's anybody who has any input for us on the proposed stormwater ordinance. And in the room, we do not. How about online? All right, have we received any feedback by other means, Whitney or Karen?
I have not.
I have not either.
Dean, any feedback through your channels?
I have not. I guess I just want to express myself a little bit on this. Due to the numerous years of our existing storm sewer piping, I just hope people seriously consider the thoughts that, we can't just ignore the fact that once the storm sewer is in the ground, once the piping's in the ground, that, it's a done deal, it's a lifetime deal. So therefore, I guess I'm in favor of recognizing that we do need to recognize that as a separate item versus coming out of our street funds, and taking away from that part, considering that with town and growth, with the expansion, that our streets therefore need to be repaired on top of the growth and the increase in costs that, let's not just blink an eye and turn our backs to the stormwater and not recognize the fact that there is, updates that are needed toward that. So.
I don't know, Pat and those guys were always doing the catch basins and stuff, but are they pretty much up to par, or are they falling down?
Yeah, I mean, and we continuously have, those going on along with, curb and gutter, and therefore, and that kind of falls into the same, category. When we maintain that curb and gutter and those catch basin, all that comes out of our street repairs. Well, obviously with us doing overlays, that's a Band-Aid. I mean, it's more so a long-term Band-Aid as to crack sealing and stuff like that. But on top of the fact, like I say, we need to recognize that there's increase in wages and materials and everything else that, so for these overlays, for example, it's costing more money, So not only do we need to repair the catch basins, or there might be some needs on the catch basins, but also with the piping underground, getting to be 25 and 30 years old, that stuff's not gonna last forever.
So is that something you can put on a schedule to be replaced, repaired?
It is, so Dean and I just, it was last week, it was Thursday, we sat down for our director budget meeting, and there's really was kind of like 3 things feeding into this problem. So rapid growth always creates stormwater issues. You don't have a lot of time for everything to get vegetation to grow, you have a lot of issues. Also though, we're receiving our road use money, so what he's talking about those road dollars, that's what it is. That comes from the fuel tax and car registrations, but it's also based on your census. So we have been getting paid ever since 2010 for our 2010 population. Not only do we have like 800 more residents, we also have several miles of streets. I mean, I wasn't here in 2010, you guys were, so I know, I mean, my entire neighborhood, some of Kelly Oaks, Oak Park, those are all miles of streets, miles of stormwater. So not only is it, so that then overtaxed the road use fund, which is being paid for 2010 levels instead of current population, then it also, with every road mile is storm sewer mile. Those go hand in hand, in addition to water and sewer infrastructure. So, I mean, the fact that we're still receiving the same amount of dollars that we were in 2010, and that's just has to be stretched to meet all these additional needs, pretty easily see why you said, Jerry, they do the overlay, they do the catch basins and repair the curb road they overlay. So, but as those dollars, that $150,000 has to now cover the entire city. And you have to, I mean, the overlay needs just increase because those older roads. So it's just kind of been a slow burn on that road use tax fund. Now, obviously the new census is right around the corner. So we are like ready for that baby to be certified because we will have a substantial increase. But and we'll talk about this a lot on next Thursday, you can see that fund has been stressed. And, you know, it's kind of unfortunate us city administrators always have a beef with the state. There's just not, you know, we throw this into the unfunded mandate category, right? There's no revenue stream specifically codified in the budget for storm sewer. So you just take out the water, and we do, like with the Brady Street project, you shape up as much of the storm sewer as you can when it's advantageous. But the biggest handicap is that you can't plan. So we have to plan for to use whatever amount of road use money we can scrap away from a fund that already needs $50,000 more than it has. So not only is it just the money not there, more importantly, it doesn't give Dean and I the ability, like you said, to plan out, because you really can't, because you don't have even if it's a small amount, it'd be nice, you know, to just know you have it. It's based on what sort of leftovers we can siphon away from another source. So it's just something we're gonna have to look at long-term in terms of the strategy for areas that need stormwater. I mean, I know they found a collapsed storm line in a commercial area.
Behind the old dentist office, or the old Illusions in the dentist office, yeah, some old plastic.
Just collapsed. So again, not a huge project, they'll be able to fix it, but you just gotta pull that money out of somewhere, and there's not just a spot.
Do we camera those? We don't camera the storm sewer or the stormwater lines. Do we let the sewer?
Some of that cameraing, I think, was done with that IIW study. But on the same token, I mean, we can take, just for one simple example, we can take Cox Springs alone and, you know, just incorporating that into with the annexation and taking that over from the county. I mean, just look at the number of feet of storm sewer that takes place alone just on that, you know, and with us just taking that fully in this year, now we have an overlay on that whole road, you know, and it's just a temporary Band-Aid, but, you know, hopefully we can buy, you know, 7, 8, 10 years on that. But within that time, we're gonna have to look at, you know, storm sewer repairs after that's all done, and then just a complete restoration after that time. So I mean, somewhere or another that funding has to come, but we still have all our remaining streets in town, you know, to repair. So like I say, Cox Springs alone is just one prime example.
Cox Springs, that's just an overlay though, right? We're not gonna do storm and gutter on that? Right?
No, we are not doing curb and gutter on it's just gonna
I'd
be.
like to have an idea of what's gonna go on there before we.
But I mean, there's gonna be some significant dollars spent on that, you know, that's a mile stretch, so.
It's not a good shape.
Thanks isn't good. It's just along the way. So how long will it last?
Well, like I say, I mean, I think, structurally, if we leave everything that's down already, leave that, just, skim it to level it and then do, the 2-inch overlay, I think we'll get, and considering the amount of traffic, that's obviously a high flow traffic area. But I would hope that we can get 8 years out of it. Like I say, I mean, that alone, that's just doing a resurface. We're not doing anything with the stormwater crossings.
I mean, I know we gotta put Band-Aids on some things, but on a project that big, is it worth doing a Band-Aid to make it hopefully last for 8 years?
I think at this point in time where we're at, with the expansion, at this point where we're at with all the construction that needs to take place on phase 3, I do believe that that's the route to go at this time. And then considering the annexation of the property just to the east of here until that gets somewhat fully developed, I believe that now is, an overlay.
Instead of putting a new road in and have a bunch of equipment all over.
Yeah, because it's gonna get destroyed.
When I change the
Take all
grade.
the truck traffic, it's gonna get destroyed. So let's just leave the existing structure up there, leave that and overlay it and take advantage of that option right now. I think long-term, we're gonna be looking at sidewalk and we're gonna be looking at curb and gutter. And until the grading and all that stuff is done, and brought up to them road surfaces, to them edges that, it's probably the appropriate route to go.
So being the fiscally prudent group that we are, this conversation has been largely around the economics of it. I would just want to point out, once again, this is tying back into the fact that we're on top of it. We feed 3 different watersheds, and this ordinance is, by its own statement in here, its primary purpose is to make sure that we're being good stewards of the land, and the water that does leave our city as it runs downhill is being managed properly. So it's important for more than just the economics of it.
So over there in Cox Springs, now they're dumping a whole bunch of dirt on that empty lot. Will this solve some issues with that as far as putting up, keep the silt, the dirt from washing off that dirt pile down in the creeks and stuff, this ordinance or not?
So this ordinance applies to any development over 1 acre, so that's what would be the helper over there. I'm not sure if that lot's bigger than an acre or not. So this won't affect generally the random Whitney and Tyler building house, but if the lot is bigger than an acre, then it will.
I just remember on Cox Springs when they was building them houses right along Cox Spring, when it's rained, there's a mud slick going across the road all the time. And I was just thinking that maybe we should look in that side of things too, to.
Yeah, not with that, during harvest.
Well, an ordinance alone, along with that, a lot of construction companies will just put into good practice to do the silt fence. And I think we can probably establish that in the ordinance as far as any residential taking place that, silt fence is needed or something of that sort. I know there's different communities that.
Yeah, I don't know if that may be a building permit. So this is post-construction. So this is I don't know if this is the spot for that, but yeah, I would wonder if just as part of the inspections, the building permit.
Well, I think to start, I think we would have to have a stormwater ordinance in place.
Right.
First, before we could add that to to the permitting.
You can check with Asbury because I think they have some requirements for their housing.
So there are several levels where you can get involved in stormwater management. And so we've chosen a more middle of the road to start with, which just makes sense. But yeah, this would be a start for the Asbury's kind of the poster child for a very true stormwater management system. Not necessarily by their own choice, courtesy of the EPA.
So that does touch on another element of this, that is another one of the motivators, is that having a stormwater ordinance in place opens the door to other opportunities, right, that are otherwise not available to us.
Correct. You recall we had some discussions earlier this year about culvert that was being put in by a private developer. So yeah, anything that just gives us the ability to dictate how water moves through the community is always good.
All right, so the purpose was discussion. I think we've had that. Any other thoughts on the stormwater ordinance as it's proposed? Thank you all for the good discussion on that. So that gets us back to section 7. That's the end of Public Works. We're through section 7. We did that already. So if I'm looking at my check marks right, we're down to our last citizen comment. So we'll open it for closing citizen comments. Our one present citizen is shaking her head no, so
Make a motion to. I'll second. Guy.
Aye.
My guy.
and meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Yeah, you like that? That's a little Christmas gift. No, it doesn't.
She had a keyboard.
Amazon it. She can send it to you. It's pretty
That
slick.
is, because a lot of times it's emails I want to respond to.
It's supposed to be on next.
I'll send it to my, send it to her, mix it all up.
Then send it back, yeah.
I don't want them to know that.
You're in the.
That's your business.
Can you remember that one weekend?
Because that I should.
Seems like.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure. Oh, nice. Look to it. You guys are good.
Yeah, see ya.
You guys are. It's a good crew. Yeah, I'm sure it will. It sucks in here too, so.
Yeah, no.
So you're gonna forget everything.
No, other than letting you know that.
Still, I'll frame it. Definitely frame it. Definitely frame it. Thanks for coming.
We'll definitely. That's what you're saying, okay.
You actually have.
Still in Canada. This is, I see that. I brought it up to him. This is background.